Okay, so ICAN in our course today, ICAN wants us to talk about technologies that support businesses. There are new technologies of recent. I need you to pay attention to this part, but these are some of the new parts that ICAN has added to the syllabus. So we're looking at technologies, recent technologies that support businesses. Businesses could be in any industry. There are new technologies. The list is inexhaustive, but these are the ones ICAN want us to talk about. Okay, so the first one we'll be talking about this evening is, of course, before I even go into them, you are well aware that there is no industry now, there is no walks of life or spheres of life which technology hasn't affected. There's none, from education to oil and gas to banking to insurance to real estate to automobile to engineering to construction to FMCG to pharmaceutical, just name it. You know, technology has affected every spheres of life, every spheres of life. So there are technologies specifically that I can mention and I can want us to know or talk about. So simply there are technologies that support business processes, technology that support businesses. So we'll start with the first one. The first one is enterprise resource planning, ERP. We've talked about this before. Just for emphasis sake, I will talk about it again. So ERP, enterprise resource planning, are softwares. We've said this before. They are software that support businesses. They are software that you can use to automate all business processes in such a way that instead of having individual software, like those in finance has their accounting software, those in HR has their accounting software, those in production has their own software rather. We want a single software that will automate, all business processes together. I've explained this, I think, in my first class, either first or second class. But I'm just re-emphasizing it for those of us who didn't get it then, or those that got it just to internalize it more. Okay, so as I said, ERP are softwares that are used to automate or manage business processes from end to end, from production from production to consumer. I've mentioned to you before that my company don't accept physical invoices. That everything is what's it called? Everything is has to be soft copy. So to do that, what it means is that there is a certain ERP that allows you, like for instance, what I do, my present boss don't even sit in Nigerian office. Yeah, it doesn't sit in Nigerian office, but whatever I do, I still get her to approve those things that I do on the system without even putting up a call because she gets a notification. Now, how is this possible? It is possible through this software called ERP. And there are quite a number of them. We use SAP, quite a number of them. SAP is an example. Sun System is an example. Oracle is an example. Finacle, majorly used by the banks, is an example. So all these are different enterprise resource plan. And if you look at this diagram I put here, if you see, you can see from sales to distribution to time, to projects, to managing your finance, to manufacturing, and you purchasing your raw materials. All this, can be integrated into one single software. And that software are referred to as enterprise resource planning. Okay, so I try to put the benefit of enterprise resource planning. It gives you more accurate forecast. You can forecast better. It improves, no doubt, it improves your efficiency or the process, and it saves you costs. Imagine what it would have cost a company, accounting guys, those in finance want their own software, you buy for them. HR want their own software, you buy for them. Those in supply chain want their own software, you buy for them. Those in maybe production want, you buy for them. No, that's duplication, as against buying one single software that will serve everyone. So it saves you costs. It's cost saving. And above all, your customers will be more satisfied because everything will be automated. And of course, if a process is automated, most likely it will be faster. There'll be efficiency. There's no transparency, in the system, as it were. So these are the benefits. There are more of enterprise resource planning. So one of the what's it called? One of the technology that support business process we are learning this evening, or we're talking about this evening, is ERP. So we've talked about it. The notes are here. I'm going to provide this note as usual. Then I'll just mention the benefits, of course, that you can derive from enterprise resource planning. I don't know who is speaking. Please, can you mute your device so that I'm the only one speaking, except you want to ask me a question. So I don't know who is speaking. I'm just saying my screen. I don't know who is speaking, but please, whoever is speaking, please mute yourself. Okay. So we'll go to the next software or the next technology that supports business processes. Okay, let me see if I can see the question. Abigail. Abigail, you're the one disturbing me. Hello, Abigail, can you mute yourself? Okay, let me see if I can mute her. I'm not the host, so let me just try, see if I can mute her. Okay, I'm not the host, I'm not able to mute her. Abigail, can you mute your device, please? Anyway, let's continue. Okay, she's muted now. Okay, so the second technology that support business process is AI. This is very common. This is very prevalent now. AI means artificial intelligence. So there are machine languages that actually developed to mimic human. They are developed to think like human, act like human, and actually produce result like human. So there are quite a number of them deployed in several places, even to grocery stores, to filling stations, advanced filling stations. Where you actually it's self-operated, and for it to be self-operated, it has a certain a human intelligence that will know that, okay, at this point, stop pumping. So, like, if I'm to read from the screen, so artificial intelligence refers to simulation of human intelligence in machines that are programmed to think like humans and mimic their actions. So we see this AI everywhere, even in medicine. Even in medicine, you see a doctor, consulting with you. You see him keying in some things on his laptop. He's actually keying into a software. Okay, so this software will actually do some, like, expert system. We actually do some diagnosis. Yeah, we actually do some diagnosis and prefer solution to the doctor, and of course the doctor would in turn give you that give you those prescriptions as it were. So again, of course, we see some very smart homes, especially on the island here. So very smart homes. You go in from the door to the lightning to to the television sets to just name it. You call a certain name, Leo, on the AC, and the AC comes up. For it to behave that way, that what it means is that there is a certain human being mimicked, at the background, which is AI, as it were. So you see self vehicle that drove himself. This VDM has in fact currently, I think he's currently in China. I saw him in one of those his posts where he's being driven by a car without a driver. That car itself uses a certain intelligence, uses a certain technology. That technology itself is is AI. Okay, we've seen even your GPS. Like before I could drive out of the office, I had to look at Ozumba all the way to law school. Let me see how it is. Then of course, I saw the map that it was red like a crystal. So what it means that there's actually traffic. I know there's traffic, but of course I had to go home. I had to come home to have this this meeting. So that map that you use, that your Google map, uses intelligence. That's why at times most times it even suggest routes for you. Though of course you can't believe it, hook, line, and sinker. But hey, most times it's usually correct. Most times it's usually correct. So all these there's quite a number of them. Even your facial detection that you use on your phone, your text editor, when you're typing in MS Word, it gives you suggestion telling you see the red line, red on the line, telling that these words are correct. You see the green telling you the grammatical, you need to change the grammar. All those are artificial intelligence. And as you said, it's been deployed to business. Even voice recognition. Voice recognition. My door to my house has got my thumbprint. So what it means is that if you don't have my thumbprint, and of course, all members of my family, you won't be able to open that door. That's what it means. It's keyless. It doesn't have a key. It's my thumbprint it uses. Okay. So those are artificial intelligence at work. Of course, it has its own disadvantage. It has own advantage, no doubt. Okay. Then another technology again that support business process is your blockchain. I'm sure you must have had this blockchain technology. Blockchain technology. So blockchain, as you said, like if, of course, accountants, which you are, if you're recording anything, or if you're recording any of your transactions, you record them on the ledger. Yeah, record them on the ledger. So here we are saying we want a digital ledger in such a way that anything that is recorded there can be updated and can be seen by all parties at real time, almost immediately. Take, for instance, see your Bitcoin. Your Bitcoin, what drives Bitcoin is actually a blockchain technology in such a way that you do something here, both the buyer and the seller are on the same page. So it's not like you update something, but by virtue of the fact, of course, by geographical location, both of you are not in the same geographical space. By that, so what it means is that what happens there will not be happening there. No. And again, it's incorruptible. It's not something that one party will just corrupt for its own, benefits. So blockchain, if I read from the screen, is a secure and a transparent digital record of everything you are buying, you are adding, you are doing anything to an asset. And it's transparent in such a way that you here can be able to see it. The other guy can be able to see. And as I said, it's usually held across a computer network. It has to be a network. A network has to be in place for it to, work. And of course, at the back end, there is a database that powers, all those data. We talked about database in the last class that powers all this data that is being used. So you see a lot of it, especially as I said in cryptocurrency. What drives cryptocurrency is actually a blockchain technology. We'll talk about Internet of Things and Internet of Everything later. Okay, so another technology, robotics or simple robots. Okay, simply robots. We used to have, we used to have two divers, when we have it Portuguese, but for the past 2-3 years now, they've been relieved of their work. What it means is that the company actually do not need. Um, Hello, please, can you confirm you can see my screen?
No, we can't.
Uh-oh. Okay, let me share again. So can you see now? Can you see the screen now?
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay. So I was trying to tell you, divers that we use. So we simply use them when you can maybe in a whole year they can go down maybe twice, and trust me, they earn good. They earn good money. They earn good money. But lately, nobody needs their services anymore. Why? Because there's this device called ROV, remote operated vehicle. It works like what it does. What actually a diver would do, but somebody will be at the deck to actually correct, to be operating using a pad to operate, the machine. So the machine is lowered to the sea and it does the same thing that, or even better than the diver would do. Work in very difficult, dangerous terrain. Works in very difficult and dangerous terrain compared to, human. So these are robots, and as I said, robots can be used or can be deployed in several places in manufacturing, some very dirty work, menial job. Imagine how acid are produced. Yeah, you know how dangerous acid is. Imagine how acid are produced. But somebody does that job, But these days, it's actually robots that does some of all those very dangerous jobs. Of course, we want to also see you making call and a machine, somebody is responding to you. How can we help you? As if it's human. It's not human. most times is they are programmed robots to answer you based on, based on what's the question you are actually asking. Okay. There are strategies for deploying robots in business. So there are no quick fix. It takes some time. You have to do a critical feasibility study, no doubt. You have to do a critical. You must assign the tasks. Then you must automate your process. Conduct several trials because you can't get it. Can't get it right at once. Then you implement. After implementing, you review. Of course, at every point in time, you always calibrate means to ensure that what's you're expecting or what you impute the same thing as what is being what comes out as output. It has its own benefits, efficiency in operation, the speed, consistency, because it's robots, is you programmed it. Once they ask you this question, or once the person type initiative, the quality of service, delivery is very consistent, no doubt. And of course, it can be used in several places. And as we said again, um, it reduces costs in the long run. It's cheaper in the long run. Okay. So also have a CRM. CRM means customer relationship management. So as we said, this is also more like robot, but this time around, this one is tailored strictly, for customer service. This is at this time that is close of business hour. What most times you would be hearing is machine. Like I think Zenith has their own different name. You see chatbots where you are chatting and it's responding. You think it's human. That's actually responding to you. It's not human. Okay, it's not human. That which is responding to you is actually a machine. So you see this a lot in customer relationship management, where where you get automated
Sorry,
responses.
Mr. Ifeanyi, the explanation of the CRM, the volume was kind of low, so you're not very audible when you're explaining the CRM. I don't know if it's just from my side or if any other
Oh, okay,
person experienced it.
okay. Let me explain it again. So as I said, CRM, there are softwares that are built specifically built for managing customers who are kings, who are the reason why you're in business. That's why a software is actually built specifically for them. Like as I said, if you call most companies at this time, I use bank as an example, at this time, which is an odd time, most times what will respond to you is actually a machine. Yes, what will respond to you is actually a machine and not you. Of course, I'm not saying human will not respond to you. Of course, there are customer service that runs 247, but most times um it's usually this thing that responds to you, usually a machine that responds to you. That's machine itself. That's the CRM I'm talking about. That's customer relationship management. But as I said again, is a technology that manages relationship and your interaction, as against having physical a customer service officer responding to those queries. As I said, some of this thing is that the response will surely be automated, because the response will be consistent rather. It's able to manage feedback, as they are chatting, that chat you how are you to respond. To also ask you, fine, how are you today? How can we help you? You said, I want to open an account. Then he goes ahead and all those things that all those things that those responses, is not human that is responding to you. It's actually a software, which is a customer relationship management software. Okay. Then of course that software is able to manage your calendar, manage your mobile phone and everything. Track the interaction between you and your customers, and of course keep record, and also even able to even perform some other things that you set for it to do, and of course make information available throughout the organization. Make the information available throughout the organization. So that's CRM. Some of the basic feature, it generates customers' information at any point in time. Can we see all the customers that even called or reached out to our business today? Can we see? Of course, you're able to, you're able to generate that. Can we see this report? Customer who has been, reaching out to us is often, you're able to, do that. You're able to generate that. Of course, it improves the efficiency. It improves the efficiency, and of course, you're able to analyze some key performance indicators of businesses. Okay, so as I said, these are software. These are technologies that assist business. In recent time, assist business in their process. Then we also have a warehouse management. Of course, warehouse management, that one is straightforward. It helps you to manage, typical, like my company. If I take you to to a warehouse, you can get lost. But guess what? If you go to the system using this warehouse management software, type anything. Maybe you want a drilling bit, maybe size, maybe 3.5, for instance, drill bit 3.5 inches. Go there, type. It will tell you the exact section. It will tell you the exact section, tell you the exact quantity, tell you the exact when it was, tell you, everything. Tell you everything that you actually need, everything that you actually need to know, about the location. Because usually the problem with warehouse is, where can I find this thing? And am I sure that it's available and all? And don't forget, we're talking about people who you cannot easily, let me quickly come out to buy or to order. We're talking about guys that are offshore. Yeah, we're talking about guys that are offshore. It's not something you can easily, I want to quickly dash or tell the vendor, please quickly supply us. No, it must always be available. Imagine in the middle of drilling and you need your bit got broken or your bit got stuck. Operation cannot stop. So what you just need to do is to pull out and fix it and that. But for you to know where it is, you need a software that manages that warehouse, because the warehouse is massive. It's big. Okay. So the same thing goes even with supply chain management. Procurement, P2P, they call it procure to pay. From process of tendering to reaching out to customer, to bidding, to evaluation, to award of contracts, to supply, ensure the quality, then to eventually getting the vendor paid, or who you call supplier, getting them paid. All these things are automated. They're automated. Our supply chain guys, they use it a lot. It's one of the busiest departments in my place, just like finance. Finance is also very busy, So if you look at this diagram I put here, you can see the logistics, to the time, to the planning, to distribution, procurement, eventually to the payments. All this can be analyzed. And at every point in time, you can even say, this year, this quarter, who is the highest, or which vendor have we paid that has the highest, that who bought more from? Who is the least? Who is the, you can, all manner of, I want to say my top 5 vendors that have supplied us this year or this quarter. Can do all manner of analysis for management decision purpose. But guess what? Without those softwares, you can't do that. Without the software that is able to, analyze all this, you can't. How do you want to do it? We're talking about things that runs into billions of USD, billions of naira, millions of USD. Okay, they are quite enormous. They are quite enormous if you want to do it manually, as against using a software. It has some key feature. Of course, it has a centralized flow. There's effective and efficient management of SCM, and of course, and you need all this to be sure that in case, of course, the vendor can sue you if you don't maybe the agreement for payment is maybe 30 days after delivery, and in your head, and after 30 days, some will tell you there'll be 10% markup after 30 days, and in your head, you think, if there's no software prompting you, because you're dealing with a lot of things. We're talking about over 3,000 vendors. And let's assume you now forget, which is very possible, that this guy's payment is due today, and you forget. So what happens? And you don't pay the guy 1 month after you don't pay the guy, and the guy comes telling you there's a 10% that's applied every day, multiplied by number of days, 30 days. Like, what are you saying? The guy goes to court. He would. you would get justice. I'm not saying something of 3, 4, 5 million. I'm talking about things running into 30,000 USD, 40, 100,000 USD, and convert it to naira. It's quite much. So it takes you to. But if you have a software that helps you to track all this, so telling you this guy's payment is due, because once you contract, you have all those things imputed on the system, and of course the system helps you to do all those track. So your business is just to ensure that the system is working and ensure you always go there to spool any reports that you want. That's a software working for you. That's a software working actually. Okay. So once again, we looked at various technologies that support business processes. We started with enterprise resource planning. We looked at what it is, software that helps you to manage, all your processes, automate all your processes in one single bit. Enterprise resource planning. We talked about AI, artificial intelligence, that tries to mimic, in a machine language, that tries to mimic what a digital ledger that keeps a record or transparent record of what happens to, an asset. And I said cryptocurrency runs on this technology. Then we talked about customer CRM, customer relationship management. We also talked about which other one to talk about. I ended it up with uh, supply chain management. Go through. Okay, is of processing of various forms in which data can be processed. Various forms. So at any point in time, in case you are called upon to write short notes on them, ICAN has asked that question in the time past. You're able to write as much as you can. So we'll start with the first one, transaction processing. So here we are talking about how you conduct your normal day-to-day transaction. I mentioned this to you when we were talking about different types of information system. I said, no matter the organization, there is usually your day-to-day. I take, for instance, banks. I made mention of banks that day. I said banks, they must surely keep track of, what comes in, what goes out, their deposits and their withdrawals. Must. Like my own company, our business is how many crude are you able to produce, and it has to be tracked. Otherwise, you lose revenue. Company that produce maybe bottled water, for instance, they must keep number of packs that is produced. So they have this their day-to-day transaction. ShopRite, for instance, or any of our big malls, you see, imagine the number of products there. Imagine the number of products there is quite much. Imagine if you had to keep it, manually. How do you want to do it? I use Peak the other day as an example. Peak has got liquid, it's got powder. In powder, it's got 920 gram, got 400 gram, 450 gram. It even has a sachet one. A sachet one even have variants. There's a bigger one and a smaller one. So how do you want to keep track of all those things? You can see it's not something you want to keep manually. It's not something you want to keep manually. But if you have all those on the system using your transaction processing, you are able to keep track of all this. So as you said, we're looking at a computerized way of keeping your day-to-day transactions as they occur. Okay. So we have the online transaction processing. That one, of course, uses an electronic means where anything that you do is kept electronically, and you are able to track at every point in time. Track at every point in time. And this processing, it can actually be either centralized, or it can be distributed or decentralized. Decentralized or distributed, they are actually the same thing. But let's talk about that. When we talk about centralized processing, we're looking at a processing that happens or that occurs from a particular location. Centralized. And don't forget, in all this, in other centralized, there must be network in place, because that's the only way you're able to reach out to other places. Now, what am I saying? We want a situation whereby if we are procuring, if we are buying anything in my company, it must come from the head office. So head office decides what is bought, what is paid for, and what have you. So such kind of processing is referred to as centralized processing. Why? Because it's done from one particular location or from one particular computer. It has an advantage. Of course, one of the advantages is that there's control because it's coming from one source. There's control and there's uniformity. It's even cheaper. The resources you use in duplicating, in doing in various units or in various departments, you're able to use you're able to do it in one singular location as against duplicating it. Okay. Then, having explained centralization, it also has this advantage. One of the advantages is that the users are not involved. Now then they do it for head office. You often hear words like that. You are the one who. So that involvement is not there. When I mean involvement of maybe those in the branch, since it's done at the central location, not them. You often hear that one, not them, because it's not done from their, it's not done from their location. Okay, so that's one of the disadvantages of centralization. Then when we talk about distributed here, we're saying, hey, don't do it for one particular computer or one particular location. Do it every department, or I said every department, every unit should be able to, process the transaction, keep record of the transaction, and take hold of the transaction. That's every department. So if that happens, maybe a branch has the right to procure, pay, do anything they want to do within that particular unit or location. Such is referred to as decentralized or distributed, processing. Okay. So the good thing about the distributed is that users are involved. Yeah, the users are involved because they're the one who procure, who buy, who does everything. Okay. But the quick way to know the advantage and disadvantage of this, the advantage of centralized will be disadvantage of decentralized. What is the advantage of centralized will be the advantage of centralized. So once you ask this question or you sit in your OBJ and you're able to crossbreed it like this, of course, surely you would not forget. The advantage of centralized will be disadvantage of decentralized. Why disadvantage of centralized will be advantage of I'm sure you understand what I am saying, but they are all here. These are all I've explained. Centralization sets the system built around a single server that handles all major processing. A single server, a single location, handles every of transaction. I have the advantages there. Like for instance, one of the advantages is economical because everything you're buying just one and it's centralized. But one of the disadvantages is that the users may not be involved and it requires special training since it's done at the head office. And the same thing goes for decentralized. So as I said, the advantage of this will be the advantage of decentralized. What's the advantage of centralized will be the advantage of centralized. I hope I'm not confusing what I'm saying. Okay, so having looked at centralization and decentralization, I'm also looking at the advantage and disadvantage. Yes, there's another one again called real-time, online real-time. But before I explain real-time, let me explain what online is. So because a system cannot be real-time, it must first be online. Okay, but let me explain. So there's online processing. So online processing means you are able to interact with the system. At every point in time, you're able to interact with the system. So what I mean is that you can actually book your tickets. You actually make a reservation, and that ticket is kept for you, or that room is kept for you. You can actually reserve a room from here in Nigeria, in any part of the world. Yes, in any part of the world, and that room will be reserved till on that particular day that you booked. Why? Because it is what? Online. Okay. Now, when we say real time, you understand what I mean by online. And so I said online means ability, or you're able to interact with system. You're able to have that interaction with the system. But again, you can have an online system that is, and it may not be real time. Most schools lately, their results, you can check it. Yeah, so you checking it means it's online, it's accessible, but it may not be real time. So real time means that When you wrote the exam, that is when the results, when you wrote the exam, that is when the result is posted. And in most cases, it's not so. You may have written an exam maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks before the result is marked and all those things, and the exam posted. So in that case, you cannot say it is real time, but it is, however, it is online. It's online because you're able to access it. Yeah, you're able to access it. Banks were not real time. Banks were online previously. And you pay, you fill your deposit slip. The guy will not post it till evening, or till he waits to collect and maybe giving it to one person to post it. That's online. And that's why you will pay money, even sometimes, if you can remember, if you can cast your mind back, 2 days after you have deposited the money is not still reflecting in your account. If you can recall, 2 days after, 2 days, 3 days after, it's not like anything has happened. They have not posted it. So at that point, the bank is online, or that transaction is online, but it's not real time. So when we say real time means now. As you post it, it hits the account immediately. That's why, take for instance, a good example is your ATM. ATM now is almost going into extinction in Nigeria because of this the POS guys, But if you remember, ATM, of course, everybody here listening to me must have used ATM at one time or the other. This is as it's counting, you already you already having a debit. Yeah, you're already debited immediately, telling you it is now, it is instantaneous. So that's the difference between both. So real time means as transaction happens, the necessary ledgers are updated immediately. That is a real time. While online means at every point in time you are able to access, you're able to access, not necessarily immediately, but you're able to access, the transactions you are currently, consummating. Okay. So those are online and retail. Like for instance, in retail, I said you have direct access by the user. File is permanently online. And don't forget that I said, for you to be real time, it must first be online. And the master data is always updated. Always updated. The master file is always updated. And there's continuous processing of data. There's continuous processing of data. What it means is that as transactions are going on, the data, it keeps moving, and it keeps updating. And that's what I said, the master file is always updated. Okay, so the advantage that is timeliness, immediately it happens, is updated. So the timeliness is there, and you're able to access it at any point in time, even at odd hours. That is why you're able to go to ATM at 3 a.m. and you access it. It has an advantage. It's not cheap. Yeah, it's not cheap. And there are some transaction that requires some form of batching before you can complete it. That takes me to another type of processing called batch processing. We've talked about online processing. We talked about real-time processing, which I just explained. So there's another one called batch processing. So batch processing occurs when transaction is put together. As transaction occurs, you don't update. It does not update. Transaction is collated. It's collated for a particular at a particular interval before it's updated. Particular interval. I'll give you an example. See your school results. In those days, you'd have written your CA. Yeah, you'd have written your CA. Nothing happened to your results. Then you will now write exam. Then after a while, the two of them is now collated together to give your total score. So such kind of processing is batched because it is waited till at a particular time before processing can occur. I'll give you an example. See your payroll in where you work. Payroll file is not updated. Nothing happens to payroll file till the end of the month. Like now, nobody's talking about payroll file. Yeah? Why? Because you don't need it. But as it's getting to end of the month, which is a certain, then payroll becomes active, or people, whoever who is the officer in charge, can go to payroll file and want to work with it or work on it. So such kind of, that's pulled at a particular interval and processed is referred to as batch processing. As I said, I don't have much for us today. I'm actually done basically with what I have for us today. So, of course, as I said, each of all this one has its own advantage and disadvantage. Like batch processing now, one of the disadvantages is that transactions are not online. Transactions, you have to wait to a certain point before transaction can be updated. If it's something that requires that urgency, of course, batch will not be able to do that. But again, there are some transactions again that that requires, though it's not very common lately, that requires that you have to batch first before you one good thing about batching is that it gives room for for you to check for errors. Yeah, check for errors before you finally commit or you finally save the file. That's the good thing about batch, because it doesn't happen immediately. It is collated, so somebody can review it again before it's finally committed or processed, as it were. Then we have statistical modeling, which is the final part I want us to look at. Statistical modeling. So modeling, as I said, is actually try to use assumption of reality. Use it to predict reality. Is a representation of reality. This diagram I put here, if you can see, is actually a model I picked from our field. If you can see, you see this is a field. You see, if you can see those parts that has those red patches, those parts are where hydrocarbons are deposited, what you call crude. Okay, while the green part is just a normal, the normal surrounding. So take for instance, if you're going to drill, for instance, if you drill into the green parts, what you have succeeded in doing, you're succeeded in drilling borehole. That's the only thing you succeeded in drilling. So what you will see, or what would eventually come out, or you will produce, is water. Yeah, what you produce is water. So if you're going to drill as a driller, you must drill into the reservoir, which is where those red patches you can see where they are. So, but again, this statistical model, which is what I just put this picture to explain. But this statistical model, as I said, is a representation of reality. This is what you can see. This is what I'm saying, is like 10,000, 20,000 feet beneath the Earth's surface. But through seismic modeling, you're able to know, the particular location, the particular location where you have deposits and where you don't have deposits. Okay, so just take note of it in case it comes up. There are various statistical model. Of course, you know your regression, your X and Y. There are classification model. There's k-means clustering. These are different modeling that I use. Statistical modeling, but this is not a statistics class. So basically, that's what I have for us today. As I said at the beginning, I do not have much. Trying to log into this. I do not have much for us today, rather than we'll pause here and take the next few, maybe 10 minutes. As usual, we'll just try to review our question and answer section in preparation for our exam. Somebody typed something. Okay, gentlemen. So, if you don't mind, or with your permission, let's use the next 10 minutes to review our questions. If you don't mind, you can use the next 7 minutes to review our questions. So as usual, I'll call you What is a processing technique by which many processors are used to accomplish data processing? What is a technique in which many processors are used in accomplishing data processing? Multiple processing, multiple processor, multiple program, multiple programming, multiple processing. Oh, okay. Shego, well done. Multiple processing is correct. Yeah, multiple processing is correct. Okay. We'll go again. So, Adebisi, here is your question. The following are data processing methods except transaction processing, star ring processing, batch processing, online processing, real-time processing. Adebisi.
Please, that second option, I don't really get it. Did you say star ring?
Yes, star dash ring processing. It's an ICAN question.
I think I'll pick the second answer. Second option, star ring.
Which of the following is a data? All of the following are data processing method except. So which answer? Star ring final answer?
Yes, sir.
Star ring final answer is correct. Well done. Well done, Adebisi. Okay. Okay. Joy, can you hear me?
It's not. It's a career, sir.
Good. In a batch processing system, which of the following is the first stage? Remember what I told you about batch? It has to be collated at a particular point. So you are asking, in a batch processing system, which of the following is the first stage? Data validation, data verification, job waiting in a queue, storage of outputs, writing on printed sheets. I'll read that again. In a batch processing system, which of the following is the first stage? Data validation, data verification, job waiting in a queue, storage of outputs, writing in a printed sheet. Joy.
I'll go with data verification.
Data verification. Final answer, data verification.
Yes, sir.
Data verification is correct. Now, the truth is, before you batch, of course, you have to verify. That's the first thing you must do. What am I even, just like, customers that have come to deposits, the teller keep collecting, and, keep collecting deposit slip and gives to you. The first thing you have to do is, let me be sure that all these deposit slip or this deposit slip I want to deal with is even deposit slip for that is genuine, stamped, and it has today's dates. So all those things that you are doing you are verifying. So data verification is actually the first stage. Well done. Well done, John. Marcelinus, are you online with us? Miscellaneous. Okay. Toy, my very good friend, are you online with us?
I'm not online, sir.
Traffic that's- Okay. Is it the traffic that affected everybody? Here's your question. A
I
processing
said I'm not
technique that
online.
here's your question. I know you're offline, so it's okay. You can still take the question when you're offline. A processing technique that allows data to be accumulated before processing commence is
Batch
a computer technique that
processing.
allows data to be accumulated before commence processing is actually batch processing.
Batch
Well done. Batch processing is correct. The options are actually computer data processing, multitasking, data capturing, multi-processing, batch processing. This is an ICAN, past ICAN question.